Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Beach Museum of Art and to our show, Kansas Veterinarian at Work, a portrait by Tom Mohr. And I'm really excited, as I'm sure you are, that today we have Dr. Lee Penner, the subject of this series, Kansas Veterinarian at Work, with us. And he's going to walk us through the exhibition and tell us stories about some of the things happening in the photographs. So I just want to give you a brief introduction of Dr. Penner. He graduated from K-State in 1969 with an undergraduate degree in agricultural education. And then after he graduated, he worked for Garvey Industry based in Wichita. And as part of his job, he actually went to North Africa for 2 summers, working in the farming industry there. And he was in charge of harvesting crews, harvesting chickpeas and sunflower. And he had about 50 local workers under his supervision and 10 tractors, is that right?
Yeah, at least.
Yeah, 10 combines at least. Yeah, so that was a major job. After working with Garvey for a few years, he came back to K-State and he studied veterinary medicine, and he graduated in 1976 with a degree in veterinary medicine. And ever since then, he has served as a large animal veterinarian for family farms in our area, covering 5 counties, including Riley and Clay and Wabansi. And I asked him a few trivia questions that I want to share with you. His favorite animal is the sheep. And that's because they don't bite or kick even when they're grumpy.
And they're also very soft.
Yes. And his favorite job to do is illustrated in that photograph back there that I'm sure Lee will tell you more about. But his favorite job is to check if cows are pregnant or not. And he said that, he can tell within a few seconds if the cow is pregnant or not, and it's instant gratification, and that's why he likes doing that. And the best part, he said, of working with Tom Mohr, the photographer who created this series over a span of more than 12 years, right? And along the way, right, those 12 years also was a time building their friendship, so they're best friends. So he said the best part of working with Tom Mohr was that Tom had a great sense of humor, and so when they're working together on this, they laughed a lot, and that was really enjoyable. And also that Tom could really communicate with the farmers and the ranchers, because Tom would ride with Lee in his van and go with him to as he visited all of his clients. So Lee said that Tom knew how to talk to the farmers and the ranchers, and so he built up such a good rapport with them that now they ask Lee, like, when is Tom coming back? And finally, Lee wants to express how much he appreciates all of his clients, the ranchers and the farmers in this area who have made his work so enjoyable. So for him, this job is not just work that he's doing, but it's a really enjoyable social activity when he goes out and works with his clients. So he really appreciates all those years that they supported him. So, and now I hand over the platform to Lee.
Introduce the beards.
Oh, yes. And we have our guests of honor here, Dan and Beth Bird, and they are major sponsors of this exhibition. Their support made this exhibition possible. So we are very grateful for your support, everything that you do for the museum. Thank you. And now, Lee.
Well, and one thing I'd like to add is these folks are also agricultural people. They're ranchers. I don't know where you ranched, but Wichita?
We came from Anthony originally,
Okay.
but started buying feedlots. So we have Pratt, Ashland, Buffalo, Oklahoma feedlots, which we go back to
Okay.
some.
There you go. So there's
Yeah.
no wonder he has so much interest, huh?
Yeah.
How many cows did your veterinarian kill? You know, I bought an excavator so I could take care of that problem.
I know what you're saying.
Well, I'd like to give recognition to Tom Mohr. He's not here this evening because he is doing another exhibition in a small town in Washington state of Washington, Colfax, small town, 250 people, and it's about 30 miles from Pullman, I think. And he rented a home there, and they're living there for a year to photograph the community and the people, and they're doing an exhibition in that community tonight. So it tells you what kind of a dedicated photographer Tom is, and so I see people here with their pictures on the wall, and so that's really special for me. So I guess what I'll do is I want to welcome all of you. It's good to see so many familiar faces, and I'd like to start just with this picture right here behind the birds. This, if you'll come closer so you can see it, this picture for me tells a really, it tells a story about my life and how I feel about life in general and where I'm at and what I'm doing. I think I look quite happy on that picture. And this is my granddaughter. And I'm very relaxed, sort of like let life come to me. And it's, I don't know, you can all probably get some sort of a feeling from that picture. But there's another picture that gives you another feeling, and it has a quote beside it, and it says, "I'm definitely not a horse whisperer." And I will point that out to you, the difference between this picture and that picture. But another quote that is posted here that I'd like you to notice is my feeling is that service is what distinguishes you. And when vet students ride with me, I emphasize this to them all the time. Remember what the people need. And this picture here, it really doesn't look very professional, does it? But we're vaccinating. They had a rabies outbreak on that farm. What? Yeah, sure enough. They had a rabies outbreak, and so we just sat down on the porch, and the children started bringing the cats and the dogs, and they couldn't haul them to a clinic. So the point was, we came to them to provide what they needed. And that's, I think, so important in life in general. You know, there are many, many businesses around the country, and what can distinguish one business from another is generally service. And so that's always been a goal that I had. When people say, well, what's your goal 10 years from now? Service, service, service. It's pretty easy, pretty simple. So we can move on to the next picture. If you have any questions, please just pipe up and say something. And what I'm going to do, people in this room that are on pictures, I'm going to make you come stand next to the picture. Okay, and if I miss somebody, come up and stand there anyway. This family here is a 4-H family. This is a 4-H heifer, broken leg. Absolutely no way to save this animal's life. And you can see in the eyes of the children, there's not much hope there, but just the fact that we tried means a lot to them. And so, and of course the photographer caught the moment perfectly, I think. The relationship that I have with my clients, for me, is very rewarding. It helps me get up in the morning and stay late at night, and argue with my wife. This next picture here is a family, farm family, out by Oldsburg, and we actually there are two pictures here of this farm family, and this gives you an idea of what it's like to really connect with the people that you're working with, and to be rewarded for your efforts. And you don't see any monetary reward here, but the rewards are amazing. And this man here has been in a wheelchair for 20-some years, I believe. His wife already has her angel wings, and these are the two sons, and the grandmother and the grandfather's head is right there. And I didn't touch the picture. And this is mealtime with the family, and this is what I do a lot of. We work together and then we eat together. And it's kind of like going to church. You know, you go to church, you work together, and then you eat together, and you all get along pretty good. And that's kind of what we're doing here. Now, you notice the attention here is drawn to this instrument right here. Can anyone tell me what that is? Marilyn, I'll bet you can tell me what it is if you come up here and look at it.
Yeah, he's going to show that. I don't know it. It's probably a spinning wheel. I don't know, Lee. Nope,
It's an apple peeler.
Oh, an apple peeler.
An
Sure
apple
enough.
peeler, yeah.
Yep.
And every time we would eat there, we would have pies, apple pies, and apple crisp and whatever. And I said to the grandmother, I said, how do you have time for all this, peel all these apples? She says, it takes me about 3 seconds to peel an apple. And she got out this machine, fastened it on the side of the table, and put an apple in there, and I gave it a couple of whirls, and there it was. So, but anyway, so. But these are the people that live out there that are raising food for our country. They're paying taxes, they're struggling, they can't control a lot of what happens to them. They aren't homogenized, they aren't pasteurized, they aren't standardized. They simply survive. And that's what a lot of these pictures are about. So, any questions? Okay, we'll move on to this. Now, this is one of my favorite pictures. This is the Hildebrand Dairy. And some of you may know that dairy because they sell milk and cream in the Manhattan grocery stores. And I don't know if I'm supposed to advertise. But anyway, this is my favorite job. You just, like you say, instant gratification. And we just walk along with these cows. These are dairy cows. They're very tame. And I'm checking them to see if their reproductive tracts are healthy or pregnant or non-pregnant. And what we determine is how we follow recommendations after that. So. And you can see one of the owners back here, barely. But
How many cows total were in that barn?
oh, there's probably at least 120 in there. Yeah. So, any questions? Yes.
What are those bands? There's a band on the back.
Okay.
Foot, some of them.
This will indicate several things depending on the color. It may say that this animal got some medication, so it cannot be milked into the tank, okay? Or maybe it's old and it may need to be culled. It tells the herdsman what he needs to be doing with that cow as it comes through the dairy barn.
The
So-
herdsman has put that on them, or you? put that
No,
on them?
the herdsman puts,
Herdsman.
yes, yeah.
Well, that's a great question. I never noticed those bends.
Yeah.
It may tell that she kicks.
What's that?
It may tell that she kicks too.
Yes. By the way, Marilyn and her husband and their daughter, they are also dairy people, and they will be on, here they are, right here. Come up front, please. Come up here and,
And
oh,
everybody,
you
you can stand closer to
yeah, come.
the photographs. It's okay.
And you know, Marilyn has her favorite dog, and it follows her wherever she goes.
Yeah, pretty little.
And
Yep.
that's the first thing my grandkids said. We seen jigs.
Yeah, yeah. That's and this is their son here, and so we've spent a lot of time together.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Lee Penner seen us through a lot of difficulties.
Really a
But
good vet.
I got to tell one quick story.
Oh, yay.
I go to a foot doctor down here, and I can't think of his name right now. But
Swoboda?
yes.
Okay.
And Lee Penner and him used to coach girls softballs when they had little girls. I remember when Allison Lee
Yeah, my daughters would ride out to the farms with me in my van to
and
these
one
places.
time she was there and they shelled corn. Carlene showed you how to shell corn off the cob. And the girls came up with blisters. But anyway, Dr. Stavoda said that they was after a ball game. Lee said to him, "Hey, you want to go with me? I just got a call. I got to go pull a calf." And Stavoda goes, "Where are we going to pull the calf to?" And he said Lee always gives him a hard time about wondering where that calf was going to be pulled to.
Yep. And speaking of that, well, it'll be coming up, but we did deliver a calf for you in one of these pictures. I spent 2 years on the Navajo reservation as the first few years out of vet school. And this quote here is, it's so true. If you are patient and you listen, people will teach you amazing things. And this is what I tell vet students. When you go out on your first call and you're so worried that you won't be able to figure out what the problem is, shut up and listen to the farmer, because he'll tell you what's wrong with that cow, even though he doesn't know he is. And people will do that for you. If you're quiet and listen, and then you can do a better job of providing service and what they really need in their operation. This picture here is it's what we call a necropsy. In human medicine, they call it an autopsy. In veterinary medicine, we call it a necropsy, and that's when you open up a dead animal to determine what is the cause of death. And actually, the really special thing about this picture is the photography. The colors are amazing, and the reflections and everything. It's just, but it is fairly graphic. If you know anything about anatomy, you can identify some of the organs there, but we won't go into that. We'll go on to the next one. This here is an example of doing what the farmer needs. You can't see this, but this man only has one arm. You can see the one arm. The other one is in a corn picker someplace. years ago, and so he has an artificial arm. And of course, he can't do this because, first of all, he's fairly old, and so I get in there and do it. And because of that, I eventually get my arms and knees replaced too. So, but that's a typical picture of a small family farm in this area, and the facilities and the environment and what these folks, how they make their living. So, farming is a, excuse me, yes?
What are you doing there?
We caught this cow in a squeeze chute, okay? I caught the head. Then I went back here and I did my favorite job. I preg checked her. So, but we first had to catch him, and he has a bar back here in case she backs up, or he can put it behind, and she can't back up any further. So, farming is a dangerous profession, and most of you know something about that, how dangerous it can be. So, I do some hog work. I'm allergic to hog dander, so I have to wear a mask. And before I go in there, I take 2 big swigs of NyQuil, antihistamines, and a little alcohol. So, okay, next one down the line. Just another good picture of how people get ready to work their cattle. And what's so wonderful about this place is we have a new cattle chute. And it's safer than the old one. And they're all very happy about that. And of course, someone pointed out that on a lot of these pictures I'm on the cell phone. And I guess that's true. And also, something you notice, a lot of these pictures have farm dogs sitting there. That one over there, where we're doing the necropsy, he's waiting for a few tidbits. So, yeah. So you can see Tom and I just had a wonderful time. You know, he didn't just ride during the day. He rode during the night, you know, late at night, early in the morning. He was ready to go, so.
Hey, Dr. Penner?
Yes.
Can I say something about the hog thing?
Yes.
About 10 o'clock one year, I had this thoroughbred that was totally crazy, and he got choked. And I'd never seen choke before, and I called Dr. Penner, and he said, well, I'll come out. And it's cold, and it's sleeting, and he had been working with pigs, and he said, but I'm going to have to find somebody to drive me out there. And we lived like 45 minutes from his house, and he actually came up and spent like 45 minutes at the house helping me figure out how to help his horse. So that was real, talk about service and dedication, because he was really sick after working with hogs.
But I can double charge her too. Yeah. Okay, here we're back at the Benford Farms again. It seems like, well, here's 4 in a row from the Benford Farms, but this one here is delivering a calf. And do you have any questions about the technology here? And this one here, we're doing surgery. Dairy cows have a problem of, dairy cows are highly stressed animals. They're asked to produce a lot of milk on a lot of feed that they don't normally eat, and that's a lot of grain, okay? And when that when they get overly stressed, what happens is their 4th stomach will slide around underneath all the other 3 stomachs to the wrong side. And so I have to go in there, and I'm just getting finished here, but this picture here, you have to all come down here to see this. This is a sequence of doing surgery on a dairy cow where her stomach on the right side has moved clear over to the left. And the interesting thing for me in this picture is I didn't realize I made such horrible faces. But it's very difficult because you can imagine a 1,500-pound cow, how much capacity is in there, and I have to reach clear under those other stomachs and pull this fourth one back. And I'm happy there. See that? Because I got it back into place and now I'm sewing it so it can't happen again. So, and you see another thing about, excuse me.
It's happening in place?
Yep, yeah. Another thing, we're doing surgery, intra-abdominal surgery out in the Benfer farm. In the middle of nowhere, Longford, Kansas. Now, this is what you have to do in this situation, okay? It's not ideal, but I can tell you I have never lost a cow to this surgery in 41 years.
Nice.
Yeah. And that's because Mother Nature is always on my side. Cows have a better immune system than horses do, and most other animals. And so they can fight infection much, much better. So Mother Nature and the good Lord have been my allies all these years. Isn't that right, Marilyn? Yep. So.
Dr. Penner, I have a question. So, how come the stomach moves to a different place? Is it because of the diet?
Okay, when they get stressed, and it's usually shortly after they have a calf, they don't eat enough or as much. And so the first stomach, which is very big and should always be full, becomes empty. So that leaves a space. And then the fourth stomach here on this side, because there's room, it just decides to take a little vacation. And it just slides over there in that empty space, and that's what happens. And so, and if you don't bring it back, then the physiology of the animal gets way out of whack, and they'll die. And so it's very critical to get in there as quickly as possible and bring that stomach back so things can move through like they should be. Yes?
Would you say that's a fairly common surgery on dairy cows?
It's very common. I have a good friend who was a veterinarian in Idaho. He probably got about per year 15,000 satisfactory preg checks.
Wow.
You know, so he's a happy guy. You know, he's. But anyway, he probably would do 4 a day sometimes, and so it's very common in high stress cattle. Yeah, beef cattle we don't. I think I've done 1 in 40 years, because beef cattle are out on the grass. They're eating long stem hay. That's what they're supposed to eat, grass. You know, and so they're happier critters. Yes.
What are the symptoms that,
Marilyn? She knows what they are. The cow obviously is not eating, okay? She's depressed because her physiology is getting out of whack. She may or may not have diarrhea. And then I get out my stethoscope. Well, and I think Marilyn's son, Dave and Marilyn's son, is capable enough. He gets out his stethoscope and he listens to it on the other side. And if you ping it, it sounds like dropping a pebble in a cistern. Bing, bing. And that's what it sounds like. And then you know that that stomach's on the wrong side. And then they call me. And so,
Darren was trained by the one who knew best. But that's what has helped us stay in the dairy business, is because Lee not only takes the time to talk to the animal, he helps you see what needs to be done and educates you.
well, why would I want to go out in the middle of the night if they can do it, huh? So,
How do you know when a cow is depressed? What does a depressed cow look like?
oh, you know, I'm a psychologist. Cow psychologist.
whisperer.
Yeah. No, well, a cow generally, if she's just breast, this is not a normal position for a head. Should be up here. That's one way to know. Now her ears are up, but a lot of times the ears will go down. And when they walk, you watch them carefully, they'll drag their hind foot, and it'll make a line in the soil. And a normal cow will pick up their feet, just like you and I, you know. But if she doesn't feel good, her head will go down, ears are down, and so it's what you observe, and it's so important to be an observant person, you know. It's like the parable in the Bible, you know. If you know your flock, you know what the problem is. Okay. If you know your herd, you know when something's wrong.
They're not chewing that cud, you better.
Yeah, and chewing the cud, that's right. A cow, well, now I suppose I have to go into that, don't I? Okay, a cow chews its food 2 times. And so if they don't do it the second time, obviously if she's not eating, she won't do it the first time. But what you'll notice first is she'll stop chewing her cud. And what they'll do, they'll regurgitate something from the first stomach, they'll re-chew it and put it back down. So that's chewing their cud. So, okay, and this is just another farm picture of the Benford farm, and I think she's handing him some money to give to me, I think. It's green, so it must be money. But anyway, so this is the Benford farm, and these are the huts for the little calves. They keep each little calf by itself so they don't spread disease, and it's also warm. And one thing is important for everybody to know is that ranchers and farmers truly care for their animals. They really do. And I will say that in the last 40 years, that has improved. Hot shots, I don't know the last time we used a hot shot. So it's Temple Grandin has been instrumental in bringing awareness to this fact, and of course then a lot of other people have got on the bandwagon, and it's been an important change in the livestock industry. So, any questions? Okay.
Lee also takes care of the farm dog and the cat.
I do. People ask me if I do small animal. I said, yep, for farmers, friends, and relatives, neighbors, but that's it. So, anyway, before we get too far away, if you'll turn around and look right over there, you'll see a quote there. It says, "I am not an equine whisperer." And if you look at me, I don't look happy, and the little girl doesn't look happy, and the horse doesn't look happy. And the little girl's father is coming up with a big 1,500-pound round bale to put in here So then when we start working on the horse can't carry the bale feeder clear across the pasture. Well, he was about 30 seconds too late. Because shortly after this picture, the horse reared up and off he went with the whole business. This is my brother hiding behind my van. So, yeah. So I'm not, like I said, well, here's another horse picture. Of course, this horse is in a what we call stocks, so he can't move around very much, and he can't kick me, and he can't strike me, and you know, horses are dangerous. They're very, very dangerous. So.
Lee, what are you doing here in this one?
I am taking drawing a blood sample so that he can take this horse to a show. And there are certain tests that have to be run on horses and cattle if they're going to different states or certain cattle shows or sales. And so he had forgot to do this, and he was leaving the next day. And so I went out and drew the blood, so. But,
So the horse was able to compete?
yeah. This is a draft horse, and they pull heavy weights. And that's, if you'll notice, you have to look closely, you'll see the big horseshoes on the bottom of his feet. They stick down about that far, so that when they pull, they can dig into the ground and not slip. So.
I want to add that our finance manager, her husband, actually as a young child, was playing on this farm. He knows the family.
Oh, he knows this farm.
Yeah, and I think the father, so he was boyhood friends with the son of the owner over there, and I think that he might come tomorrow.
Oh, good.
Yeah, to see the show.
Good.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they were really touched that they saw this when they saw this picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You notice there's a dog there again.
Yeah, I love that.
Pretty common.
So, I mean, this is an example of what you say, service, service, service.
Yeah, it's
You know?
what it's all about. And,
Yeah.
yeah. And what I need to tell you is, I get all the rewards from good service, but my family is the one that has to suffer. You know. My daughter there, Allison, she rode in that van in the back seat many a night when she was a little kid. You know, when we get ready to deliver a calf, I'd go check the cow. She'd get all the stuff out for me and bring it over. She knew exactly what to do. So. What?
Hold the flashlight.
An old flashlight, yeah.
Suppose you have a few miles on your van.
Yeah, my van now is approaching 420,000.
Oh, that's cool.
How old is it?
Oh, I don't know, 90. What?
What brand
It's actually a Dodge.
Oh, it's a dog.
I still have the same transmission. Okay, I've changed knees and shoulders. My van still has the same transmission, same motor. But I'm the only person that drives it, and I am very kind to it. So, makes a difference. So, anyway.
Does that mean really slow?
Yeah. You know, I can't think of his name, but there was a guy that had a cattle truck around here, not Ebert, but he drove 15 miles an hour all the time, through town. And I'm sure if I mentioned his name, you'd recognize it because you've been around here a while. Yeah. Can't.
Like Junior Nelson.
Yeah, the Junior Nelson. But, yeah. And yes,
Dr. Penner, what were you going to do to the horse that took off?
just give it a shot. You know, I mean, duh. You know, and then people ask me, are you still working on a horse? I say, no, I've been at this 40 years. So all the horses that I used to work on are all dead.
Did the horse see the needle? That's why it ran?
What?
The horse, did it see you take out the needle?
The horses can smell when they know that you are not a whisperer. They can smell it. They know. I mean, she knows.
I bring in a horse whisperer every time he comes to visit.
A different, she pays somebody else to come and, you know.
And the horses know that everything's okay, and so when Dr. Penner works with them, usually everything's okay.
Yeah,
Or when you have that person.
When I have, he's my ferret, and he's truly a whisperer. He can work
Yeah.
with any horse.
yeah, some people have it and some people don't. But not everybody can preg check either. So, so. Well, have we touched each
I think there's something inside this, other side of this wall too.
on the back side here? Oh yes, there's. I guess what I'd say about these is it's just good times. Good times. Yeah. Yeah.
Those farms nearby.
This one is at Junction City. This is the Fred and Noreen Altwig. This is Vinton Visser. Some of you might know Vinton Visser. This is Vinton Visser, and that's a typical pose for old Vin. Oh, did I get up this morning or what? So, yeah. But you can see the working facilities are not always ideal. And it's dangerous. And so you have to, I tell vet students that's why they have to not only take Physics 1, but Physics 2. Because everything you're doing out here is physics. The movement of the animals, the closing of the chute, giving shots, it's all physics. Everything you're doing. Stepping over the debris, you know, not getting run over. It's all physics. And so I was going to recommend to the new dean maybe Physics 3. But
Is there such a thing as physics for med students?
they all have to take physics. Physics 1 and Physics 2.
With the same physics as anyone else would take.
Yeah, it's the same as everyone else.
Yeah, there
Absolutely.
should be a physics for med
Yeah.
students.
The, the problem is the physics that they teach don't teach you how to put a pipe behind a cow so you don't get killed.
Right.
Yeah.
You teach that part.
That's right. We yell at them. Yeah. So,
Dr. Penner, were you telling a joke in this picture? The Altbeck?
well, in this one I'm preaching. You see my hand here? Clean this mess up. No, but yeah, I can't remember what our story was, but we were having a good time. Yep. Well, I think we can move over to the other side, and that'll be. Yeah.
Except the presentation's good too. Yeah. All before that.
This one here, I guess I would just say multitasking. Just on the phone, you know, pouring water. I'm getting ready to clean up my boots, you know, after walking through the barnyard here, and that's a good example of what my vehicle looks like a lot of the time. You can wash it and drive right half a mile down the road, and it's dusty. It's just, it's,
Do you want to explain why you have your feet in plastic bags?
oh, these are Dylan's Walmart bags. And these are rubber boots. Have you ever tried to put a shoe like this into a rubber boot that doesn't have buckles on it? But you put a bag on it, it'll slide right in. And I learned that from a kindergarten teacher. Because she was tired of tying shoes and untying shoes, you know, coming in and out of boots when it was muddy and wet and snowy outside. So she told the parents to start putting plastic bags over the kids' feet before they put them in the boots, and then they just come right out. And, yeah. So again, an example that if you just listen, you can pick up some nice little tips for life. So.
They make fairly good substitute rubber boots too.
What's that?
They make fairly good substitute rubber boots.
Yeah, yeah. And another thing, the boots last much longer because you aren't stretching them so hard, and you don't have to kick hard to take them off, and so it's yeah. And so Cindy saves bags for me. And every once in a while, there'll be a big bag of bags in my office. And so I know that I have to get them out of the house or she'll trash them. So, well, I think, here's one more over here. This is just a really nice photograph of open Kansas scenery. This particular farm now, and you probably, all of you know Jordy Nelson, most of you. He bought this farm a couple years ago, and and again, I'm standing and talking. Those are doors to put feed in. The co-op, the grain or the supplier comes up, backs up here, puts his auger in there, and and puts and of course the ladder's there so that he can open and close those doors or windows. Yeah, but we're standing and visiting after we. No.
Is Jordy getting into some farming of some sort?
What's that?
Is Jordy getting into some farming of some sort?
Well, his family lives at Leonardville,
Yeah, Winterville.
and so his brother and his father and the family are all in the. Of course, Jordy's still playing football, but what I admire, maybe I shouldn't talk about these, but what I admire about him is he's not buying Maseratis and he's not buying, whatever. He's investing in his community. And so I think that's very good. Yeah.
I have to agree, Dr. Penner, that it shows a lot about being raised in this kind of community that you turn around and put it back into the community.
Yeah.
He has purchased so much land, and he has every intention to preserve that land and carry on his family traditions.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that says a lot about who he is and how he's raised and where he was raised.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How did you meet Tom Mohr?
Tom Mohr and I were at K-State together for 1 year in 1967. And we lived in the same dormitory, Moore Hall, 5th floor. And he was studying architecture and decided that wasn't what he wanted to do. And so he moved back to Rochester, New York. And I think someplace that mentions a little bit about it, he was living with his wife, 9/11. They lived across the street from the Twin Towers. And it just totally disrupted their life. And so he and his wife decided to leave New York and become, quote, gypsies. And they looked on their internet for the best travel trailer in America. Junction City Horizon. So they came to Junction City from New York, bought a pickup truck. They did not own a vehicle. Living across from the Twin Towers, everything is there. You don't need a vehicle. They bought a truck, learned how to drive, and bought a fifth wheel, and he said to himself, I wonder if Penner's still around here. And he found a phone number, and he called me, and we reconnected, and they pulled their new fifth wheel out to our farm and stayed for 2 weeks. So that's how this all got started. I mean, I would have never thought that we'd be here visiting today, and so it's a great story.
Can you say anything more about Temple Grandin, the lady who you wrote about or referred to on the other wall?
How many, just curiosity, how many have heard of Temple Grandin? Oh, almost everybody. She is an autistic woman, and she has a close connection with animals of all kinds. And she would literally sit down in an alleyway in a cattle chute and imagine that she was a cow and how it might feel to get hot shot, you know, and mistreated and pushed down someplace that you didn't know where you were going, until she decided, I'm going to try to change attitudes and designs so that cows can understand better what's happening. And she has done this, and many other people since then. She started this, how many years ago? 25? Yeah, 25, 30 years ago? Yeah. And since then, a lot of veterinarians and animal science people and just ranchers and farmers have gotten involved in this. And so it's really taken off, and it's changed how we handle cattle all the way to the slaughter plant, you know, all throughout the whole industry. And I think it's a very good thing, very good thing.
Temple Grandin earned a PhD in animal science from the University of Illinois,
Okay.
and she's taught for many years now at Colorado State University. She's a frequent guest on our campus, working with
Yes.
our K-State students,
Yeah.
and she gave the Landon lecture this last November.
And isn't it, Lee, like that cattle chute, kind of the way it is kind of her influence, right? No?
That cattle chute's older than
Older
than her work. I mean, yeah. But you see how they've got some canvases over the chute?
Yeah.
That's so the cattle stay more calm before they come up to the chute. And so some of those things are her thoughts and ideas. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Are there any other questions for Lee, Dr. Penner? Comments? Well, thank you, Dr. Lee Penner, for giving this talk. It's been really fun to listen to your stories, and every time I go through this with you, I always hear something new. So thank you, and thank you to everyone for coming here. You know, really appreciate your interest. Thank you.
Anytime you get bored, you're welcome to hop in the old van and take a ride.
Yay.
Bring your camera.
And plastic bags.
And plastic bag, that's true, yeah.